Hi there, this is one of my longer videos. There will be a reveal in the final 30 seconds if you want to skip straight there. I'm going to be making a wooden fairy door and a stone surround. I have already made one door, but because I guesstimated the dimensions, it ended up being twice the size I wanted it. So I'm making this door one half of that size. So I may refer to this as a half size or half scale door. One problem I have working at this scale is that I don't have many tools for working on things this small. For the larger door, I found the electric engraver and the rasp okay, but both were too big, so I was left using this Dremel engraving tool, which worked okay. Should wear gloves. I haven't missed anyone on this one. So this was just a dark oak wood dye to go on the white oak. Okay, so the glue has dried on my half-size, half-scale door. It's not quite as pleasing as the larger one, but it's got a bit of texture to it. I think with a bit of weathering and darkening it might be okay. It's certainly got a lot more shape to it because sanding has much more of an effect at this scale. I've got the surround just for scale there, and then we have the fittings, which are white at the minute with a bit of primer on. Again, they're not as smooth as the ones I made first that are twice as large. Possibly because I didn't hit these with the acetone to take the little lumps and bumps off, but it might also just be the scale. The artefacts are twice as big proportionally speaking. On the first of these I then did these matte black, but I don't think that's the colour I really want as a base colour. I think I want more of a cobalt, so I'm going to use some acrylic now to put some colour on. This is going to be something new. I have this air-dried clay. And I bought this as an experiment with the kids to try and make some moulds, and it was rubbish for moulding. Because there's no flex in it once it has dried. It was not possible to get the things we moulded back out of the moulds. The expensive silicone, sadly, is better for moulding. But this might be good for making some pretend bricks for a door surround. So it's been a long time since I've made anything out of clay, probably primary school, so here we go. Okay, I don't know how much footage I have from yesterday because apparently my camera card filled up. So I got some, I'm not quite sure what, but a quick recap's probably in order. 3D printed fittings, had some coats of primer, and then some acrylic paint, a kind of mixture of cobalt and black. These will benefit from some more. And then this clay surround, which was going pretty well. I'm just going to try and deal with the edges of some of these blocks today. The side ones I was quite pleased with, but the ones on the top here, the detailing just needs a bit smartening up a bit. So that's what I'll be working on today. Right, so there's a kind of brick shape there now. I'm just applying some watered down black acrylic paint to the cracks on the surface to make sure they're nice and full of what looks like dirt, and then I'm using some towel to take the surface water back off again, leaving the dirt in the depth of the cracks. These PLA parts have acrylic paint on, giving them a very matte finish. I'm going to use some pewter coloured rub and buff to try and hit the high spots and edges. This leaves the metallic pigment behind and hopefully makes these plastic parts look like worn metal. Whilst I gather it's a pretty common technique, I've not tried this before, and on some trial parts I found it tended to go on a bit heavy. I found using an emery board to apply it allowed me to pick up a very small amount of the paste and to catch just the very edges of the pieces. After being conservative on the first pass, I decided I liked the effect. I did another round all along the edges of the pieces. I used another thin coat of black acrylic on the pieces to dull a little of the shine, and glued them to the door. I then used more thinned black acrylic beneath the parts to try and give the impression of dirt or standing water stain on the wood. Okay, so the clay has dried out over the past week. It's been super cold out here in the workshop, so I think it has now thoroughly dried. It took quite a few number of days. It's not as structural as I had imagined. The gaps between the blocks have increased, and where they're all pushed onto a little peg, the hole that was originally made in the clay, I guess, has widened a little bit. I 3D printed a little flat mask here. It's 0.5 millimetre thick. It's like 2 layers of PLA printing. It's surprisingly strong and tough, these, as long as you don't bend them. My plan is to put some glue on it and glue it behind the bricks so that they don't have any wiggle. I do have some 2-part epoxy which might be perfect for the job. Got 5 minutes of working time, which should be enough time to slide these blocks on top of there and get them stuck down. What do you think? Now I need to paint this white clay to look like aged stones. I'm starting off wetting the clay so I can move the pigment around. I'm using slate grey wall emulsion mixed with water to make a very thin wash. This will go all over the white, but in layers to give some darker and lighter shades. Now I'm using diluted black acrylic to really darken certain features. I'm putting it on thick and then blending it out lightly. Now I'm going to use some ochre acrylic to add some brown features. These I'm doing less blending of because I'm going to use a cloth to take the pigment back off the surface. The transformation's been quite gradual, so I'm going to cut back to the white and then forward again to the finished. And here is the finished Faerie Door, which I need to deliver so it can go up against a tree stump. It's still a little too large, and it's developed a little bit of a lean, but I'm very pleased with the weathering on the fittings and on the surround. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.